Okay,
You ready?
I'm ready.
This is a Death Valley motorcycle story. Most people probably think Death Valley is not a very good place to go for a camping vacation. I was fascinated by the diversity of the landscape and interesting places to explore. Of course, we had to take the motorcycles. Horace had a 150 Honda and decided I needed my own cycle, so he bought me a 150 white one. I was excited to learn to ride. I spent time learning on the flat roads near Turlock. We picked a nice campsite on the Death Valley floor. Of course, there were no trees or water, but the warm sun was pleasant in April. You don't go camping in Death Valley in the summer. Horace loved adventure and decided we would go for a ride up to the 3,000-foot top of a nearby mountain. He had Todd on his huge Mimeaflex camera on the back of his bike, and I took our daughter Rebecca, who was about 8 years old, on the back of my bike. When I say bike, you understand it's the motorcycle. It was a steep climb around rocks and hills. If you've been on Highway 74 up to Idlewild out of Palm Desert, the road was like that. What a view from the top. We could see the whole valley stretched out to its lowest depth, with the mountains surrounding it like a beautiful bowl. As we started back to camp, I realized I needed to hold back the machine from getting away from me. Becky, on the back, of course, made a heavier load to control, and I shifted down with my right foot, pulling on the handlebars with a tight grip, and arrived into camp a while later, tired and glad to see level ground. When one is used to driving a car, motorcycling is very different as you control the speed with your feet, and the grips for your hands are controlled by turning down for like this for speed and up to slow yourself. Just see, Joy. That doesn't just come naturally, sort of like learning to drive a stick shift car with a clutch action when you're young or older. As I drove into our campsite, I revved the cycle the wrong way, heading toward Horace's red cycle, and crashed into it, tipping over, clutching my hurting knee, and vowing that was the last time I would ride that cycle, and it was. We later sold it to Horace's brother, and from then on I rode behind Horace. If we took the kids, it was in the pickup and camper. We wanted to explore some other features of Death Valley and visited Scotty's Castle, and also discovered a marble quarry which showed how that beautiful stone was formed, hidden away for thousands of years. Then our friends, Dean and Eileen Cook and Rich and Janelle Starn, who were also motorcycle enthusiasts, decided to move our campsite to the nearby mountains. On the map, we had found Rose Canyon and settled in there for a couple of days. The guys wanted to explore this higher part of Death Valley, so took off in the morning for a 50-mile ride. That day, a big weather front moved in from north, sort of like today. And the wind began whistling down that canyon. Before long, the wind whipped up to about 50 miles an hour, and we women were scared. Dean and Eileen's trailer was knocked off its stabilizing pillars, and she said, "I'm going to go to sleep in the pickup so I'll be safe." I had the kids in our camper, which was sideways to the wind and rocking violently. I said, "I'm going to bake cookies to keep my mind off of the scary situation." Todd and Becky were up on the bed lying down. It was frightening. Todd was always a thinker, and often after a period of silence, he said in a slow, unfrightened voice, "Well, Mommy, if we tip over, I'll be standing up." After a long afternoon and evening of wondering where the guys were and being afraid, finally the men came back nearly frozen, as they hadn't dressed warmly and had no protection for their freezing hands. It was time to head home. We decided to take a shortcut going home back to the San Joaquin Valley and looked at the map and chose Elizabeth Pass over the Sierras, which it is in the south near Bakersfield. We camped last night at Lake Isabella, and Todd once again was assessing the situation in his droll way. "Well," he said, "it's going to turn out just right. We have one more day to camp, and I have one more pair of clean pants left." The next morning, we headed up the narrow 2-lane road to the top of Elizabeth Pass, amid the snowdrifts, and down through the lush green foothills and lovely wildflowers, and on home to Turlock. Yes, as Horace always said, everything's going to be all right. That was Horace's motto for all of life.
Well, he must have passed it on to the little boy then. It's amazing that you can remember all that.
Oh, I remember everything.
What was the little boy's name?
Todd.
Todd.
He now has 5 children of his own, and they live on the Madeleine Islands in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, off the coast of Prince Edward Island, and it is cold there. And they have had lots of adventures there. They're missionaries, the people there.
Oh, neat.